You know what? We all want love, but most of us don't want to date to get it because let's be honest, dating sucks. But I fully believe it doesn't have to if we actually know what we're doing. Hi, I'm Kira Sabin, and this is Reinventing Dating, a smart and sweary podcast for all singles to learn the mindsets and skills to date with intention and confidence. Join me weekly as I break down the science and psychology behind what's working in our dating culture and what isn't. Every week, I'll bring a new topic, a trend, a skill, or mindset that can help us get out of our own way to learn how to date for relationships that we actually want. Because I fully believe and know that love isn't broken, but dating is. So let's reinvent it together. Hello there, sugar pantses, and welcome back. Welcome back to Reinventing Dating. I'm Kira Sabin. I'm back this week, and it's just a fun and special episode. If you've been following me for a long time and the former version of this podcast, it was chaotic but awesome. But the last couple of months, I've been trying to do really thoughtful and really intentional podcasts that I want people to learn, that I want people to know, that I think are the foundational skills and mindsets that we need to have. But I missed just coming on here and riffing and rolling and everything else. And so that's what today's going to be like. I'm going to talk about Bridgerton, which I have been up Bridgerton's ass for a week over on Rom-Com Rescue. We dressed up twice in different outfits. My first one was 10 times better than my second, but hey, I'm on a limited schedule and budget over here, but I'm pretty proud of it. If you haven't checked it out, you can see everything either on the Rom-Com Rescue YouTube channel or any of our social media. There's lots of fun little video clips of me looking absolutely ridiculous. And one of the things that I'm noticing now with this new podcast that I've been having a ton of fun with, by the way, and I think I am bringing it. I think that my co-host, Dr. Isabel Morley, is bringing it. It's really good. If you on any level love to watch movies or TV shows and then learn from them, that's what we're doing. And it's a lot of fun. But I find that sometimes the stuff that comes up for me is much bigger than an hour episode over on Rom-Com Rescue. And so occasionally I want to come over here and just do an episode that's a little bit of a sister episode, a sister wife episode. I don't know, like in alignment, but not the same. And I was just laying in bed thinking last night. I'm like, I need to do a podcast tomorrow. What do I want to do it about? And well, I'll tell you. We're going to talk today about why I think you need to watch this season of Bridgerton. And it's not about the carriage scene, although it's not about the carriage scene. But I'm going to make it make sense, and I'm going to make it make sense for dating, and I'm going to make it make sense in a bunch of like smarty ways. Hang on to your hats, my friend. Let's get into it. Okay. Now, if you haven't watched Bridgerton, or you haven't watched the new season, or you're just not a fan of it, that's okay, because this episode is actually going to not be really talking about the show as much as what I've been taking away from the show that I think is really fucking important. And I wanted to bring it over here and talk about it because I don't just think about dating. My ultimate goal here is for people to have a great life. And I think that getting into a great relationship is a part of a great life. In fact, that's actually been proven in positive psychology that healthy relationships have a huge positive impact on your life. But that's not what I'm doing today. What I'm doing today is I'm talking about something that I've seen the last couple of years and I think is really fucking important, and then I'm going to bring in how it applies to dating and relationships. So this season of Bridgerton has a love story between Colin, one of the Bridgerton sons, and Penelope, who is part of the Featherington family, an adjacent family in the ton, but also are struggling financially. Not everybody knows that. And there's a couple of other secret stuff that I'm not going to reveal if you haven't watched it. So Penelope is the love interest, of course, and it's played by Nicola Coughlan, who's an Irish actress. She is Let me say it this way. She is nowhere near plus size, but she is not a body that we see all that often, particularly in Hollywood, particularly in movies, and then particularly in rom-coms or romantic movies. It might be the funny friend. It might be the cute coworker. But let's be honest, women who are not size 0 or 2 or maybe 4 on TV and in movies rarely get a love story. And even more, they rarely get sex scene and to be fucking wanted. And I will tell you this, just like when I saw Wonder Woman in the theater and I inexplicably just cried. I had tears down my face for half of the movie. I didn't even fully understand why until I processed it a little bit later of just seeing a woman that strong on screen, seeing a woman that is powerful and defending not only herself, but fighting off the enemy or the villain. And in fact, she is the bravest one in the movie. I'd never fucking seen that. And I think many of us had not. And that's why it was such a huge hit. And I think it's the same thing here. So I watched this. I was liking this. I'm a Bridgerton fan for sure. I don't know if I'm a Bridgerton junkie, but I'm a Bridgerton fan. But this season's definitely taking me in a whole new direction because Penelope gives herself a makeover. So her mother had been dressing her in terrible dresses and colors and everything else, and she took control of that. But there is a scene at the end of the 4th episode, because the second half is coming out in a month, and it's a scene that is sexy and wonderful. And as I watched Colin in that moment look at her, a woman who is by Hollywood standards not the normal size, be kissed, be wanted. Like, I saw lust in his eyes, I saw wanting, and holy fuck, it broke me open. It broke me open because I had never fucking seen that before. And maybe it's in another movie and I just haven't seen it, but this meant something to me. This was a big ass deal to me. I rewatched that scene a couple of times. I'll just say it that way. And I'll pretend that it was for research for this podcast. It wasn't. But this is fucking exciting to me. Because one of the things that I have been talking about this on this podcast is dating when you are a plus size person. My own personal experiences of dating and relationships as a plus size person. And just pushing back on this weird, crappy mindset that we have taken in that people of size do not get to have love. Do not get to have great sex, do not get to be wanted, do not get to feel lust and be wanted. That has been an overall theme coming out of TV, movies, music, all of it for so fucking many years. I remember when probably about 5 or 6 years ago it started. I can't tell the exact time, but this is going to be my own personal stories. I started to just see women who are plus size wearing bathing suits on my Instagram, on my Facebook. And I will tell you the fucking truth because I come on here and be as honest as I can. My instant reaction was like, oh God, what's happening here? Now I'm saying this as a plus size woman. I am judging that person 1,000,000%. Now, if I step that back a little bit, here's why I'm judging them. I'm so uncomfortable in my body. I'm so uncomfortable with my size that seeing somebody be okay with it was jarring to me, was confusing to me in my head. I had spent so long loathing this body of mine that when I saw somebody who looked like me and was okay with it, and not only okay with it, but sharing it in a bathing suit with stretch marks, it took me a little bit, not too long, but it took me a little bit to realize that this was 100% okay. In fact, this was 100% wonderful. And after a while, as it became normal in my feed and I started following more body positive or body neutral people, it also started changing the conversation in my own mind. It started changing the conversation on this podcast. I remember many times over the years that my coach friends or people who I was in masterminds with said, why don't you talk more about dating as a plus size person? And I would be like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do it. I don't want to represent. I don't want to be like the fat representative of single people or the fat dating coach. It took me a while to get here. I mean, we're in 16 years, guys. It took me a while. Unfortunately, this was not where I was a leader. This wasn't it. I had to see and have this become normalized for me. And then soon I was like, oh, that is a really cute dress. And that looks great on her. Next, oh my God, I love that bathing suit. I wonder how that would look on me. And it just kept happening until there just became a part where I decided that I wasn't going to let not just my weight, but the way that I felt I looked take over my life anymore. Take over moments of joy. Take over memories. I can't tell you how many pictures that I have deleted, thrown away of beautiful fucking moments because I didn't like the way I looked in it. And now I don't have a fucking memory or a photo of that moment. How honestly ridiculous is that? I don't even know if you would have asked me 10 years ago or even 8 years ago if I hated my body or loathed my body. I don't think I would have said yes. I think I would have said we have a complicated relationship, just like how I feel about Florida, but we don't. Turns out we don't have a complicated relationship at all. Turns out that I was like everybody else who lives in our society and who isn't what's considered a normal weight or normal size. And I was letting it make decisions for me. I let it take me out of situations and events that I wanted to do to stop me from going after new experiences and places that I wanted to go. So Laura Adlington, who, if we have any British Bake Off fans, you may remember her from a couple seasons ago. But I follow her on social media. She is a plus size woman. She had, but it's recently went away, a really cool podcast called Go Love Yourself, where they just talk about the plus size industry, what's happening with brands, with corporations, and just even the way what we feel about our bodies. But she recently put up this just kind of video montage of her last year with her husband and travel and all the cool things that she's been doing since British Bake Off. Some of them in swimsuits, some of them in dresses. And of course, the comments start, as they did when I posted an article on TikTok this week about Nicola Coughlan. I had to just go in there, try not to be triggered at the shitty fucking comments. But I saw this post by Laura Adlington, and she did a follow-up post to a comment, of course, on it, where somebody's like, you're promoting obesity or something like that. And her response was short and sweet and probably the best thing I've ever heard, which is, I'm just fat and don't hate myself and you don't like it. I can't drop my mic because it'll make a really big thump. And it's just, obnoxious to hear. But that's what it fucking is. Here's what I do know. And I'm not saying anything needs to fucking change. Because honestly, if it's about somebody else, it has nothing to fucking do with you. My body has to do with me. Period. Has nothing to do with you. But here's what I know and has been proven to be true. Nobody changes from shame. Nobody internally makes positive changes because they were shamed by a group of people. It's not how motivation works. And it's certainly not how healthy motivation works. But I think we know that if we could truly change after beating ourselves or each other up, we'd be a whole different population, a whole different society, a whole different culture. That's just not true. Shame has no place here. Wherever you are in your body, when we can accept what is and work on what we don't like or not, that's when things get good or better or change, not from shame. Because when we are making decisions from shame, like dating, like choosing somebody, like staying with someone, because we don't want to have to put ourselves back out there, or we're afraid of what our friends or family will say, or whatever it is, shame doesn't help anyone except make a whole population depressed and hooked on their fucking electronics, booze, or drugs. So I just talked about that like 15 minutes longer than I was going to. So I'm going to shift this conversation a little bit because I didn't want to make it about me, and I didn't really want to make it about my body, and I didn't want to make it about any of that shit. But what I did want to make it about is the fact that I have changed my mindsets, my beliefs, even my thinking traps by seeing people willing to put themselves out there in a vulnerable way, be on TV or movies, even though they know they're being judged. Because when we see something over and over, it starts to be normalized. It starts to become part of what we know, what we see on a daily basis, what we surround ourselves with. I will never forget the social media post where they showed a little boy who was in a wheelchair just staring at a picture of somebody in Target, an advertisement that had a kid in a wheelchair. He'd never seen it before. It was the first time he had seen himself in an advertisement. And I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but there's something called the Scully effect, as in Dana Scully from the X-Files, which a survey found by the Gina David Institute, by the way. If you didn't know she was doing cool shit, she's doing such cool shit on gender and media in 2018 showed that 63% of women surveyed said that watching Scully increased their belief in the importance of STEM, and 43% of them continued working in STEM fields, 27% of them studying STEM fields, and 24% of them going to work in STEM fields because of seeing Dana Scully on a daily basis working in science. They say that she's inspired characters as such as Temperance Bones Brennan on Bones, which I love, Special Agent Olivia Durham from Fringe, Peggy Carter from Agent Carter, Olivia Benson from SVU. Every time someone is willing to step out and do something a little bit different, it creates waves. The Northeastern Illinois is actually, I believe, doing a study right now about the Uhura effect, which is, of course, the character of Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek and how it may have influenced young Black and Indigenous female audiences to pursue careers in STEM. I just started watching the super cool documentary about the history of the sitcom. And honestly, it is part of the reason why I decided to do the podcast. Not this podcast, but my Rom-Com Rescue podcast. Because what I saw and what I learned from that was how much TV, sometimes quietly, sometimes not so quietly, is changing our culture by what we see regularly. They talked about how shows like Will and Grace and Queer Eye, but even shows like Modern Family, started changing the way that we think and that we talk about being queer in our society, relationships, adoption, marriage, and how the two actors who play Cam and Mitchell have been thanked over and over throughout the years by dads who, watching the relationship between Jay and Mitchell, started helping some of their own relationships repair between fathers and their queer children. One of the things that I wholeheartedly believe, and I've seen affect my life and many other people in my life, as well as my clients, is that truly, on some level, we are a product of what we surround ourselves with, the content that we consume, the people who hear our stories and we hear theirs, sometimes our family members, sometimes our job culture, sometimes the culture and values of the town or the city that you live in. All of these things matter. If we don't like our lives, if we don't like where we're at, if we're stuck, if we're not sure what to change, what to start there. And then I'm going to bring this over to dating and say, start with, who are you talking to about dating? Are you talking to your friend who has a great relationship and you see their relationship role model, what a healthy relationship looks like, so that you can learn and be inspired? Or are you sitting with your friend bitching over wine every week? Are you listening and reading content that helps you learn, grow, evolve, change into a better person so that when you start dating or finding a relationship, you know how to have one? Or are you just reading more shit about how much men suck? I love me some true crime. I love me some true crime podcasts. I love me some Dateline, some 2020. I want Keith to adopt me, but I can't watch that much or I start to really not like the human race. And I don't want to spend my days hating the human race. Seeing Penelope, seeing Nicola Coughlan, being wanted, being seen, being fingered in a carriage. More of that, please. More love. Why would we want there not to be more love in this world? Why do we have such fucked up conditions about who gets love and who doesn't? And we spend our days comparing ourselves to, why is that person get it but I don't? That person is not as successful, not as pretty, not as young, not as skinny, not as whatever. How come they get it? Those kind of thoughts, those kind of beliefs, those fixed mindsets are exactly what's keeping you single. And my guess is the people you spend your time with think the exact same way or pretty close, or you probably wouldn't be spending time with them. We don't tend to spend time with people who think outside our comfort zone too much. We don't spend time with people who really challenge us or our beliefs. We tend to glom on to people sometimes that we've had for years and years, even though we've outgrown those friendships or relationships, because it's easier or it's comfortable. And it's weird, as I get older, I start thinking about years. And my best years are the years where I felt like I've had really great community. Not only Danny, who, as we know, I think is the bee's knees every fucking second of every day, but my best years are the years where I have community. I feel like I'm making an impact, like I'm taking care of myself. That's not every fucking year. But if we don't like our lives, if we don't like our relationship status, if we're not sure where to start, that's an easy start. Start by cleaning your social media. For anybody who's giving you bullshit, is telling you that you're not okay who you are, and is encouraging you to be another person to get loved. Now, I'm not saying that we don't sometimes have behaviors that get in our way from giving and receiving love, from picking a person who's a really good match. We can work on those. But here's what I also know. You can be loved at any size. You can be loved at any age. You can create a healthy relationship with another person at any time. And the more and more that we start making that what we see every day, what we do every day, what we're inspired by every day, we start to slowly change the conversations in our heads that move us closer to love. Because love is about openness. It's about giving and receiving. It's about empathy and compassion for others. It's not about judgment and being shitty. And wherever you are in your fucking journey, you can be loved. We just got to get out of our own way sometimes. Here's a great way to start. I have a one-day workshop that I'm doing monthly. It is literally part of my life work. And it is $99 a month for the pure fact of I want every single person to know this information. I have made it ridiculously affordable. It is a fantastic starting point. if you haven't dated for a while and need either a brush up or need some new ideas about modern dating, it is done with a deep respect for both people involved. It is not about woman loving and man hating or man loving and woman hating. It is about people learning how to come together and build a relationship and being able to spot those who aren't ready. But more importantly, I believe that part of the reason that I was single as long as I was is because I didn't have great relationship role models. My parents were certainly not who I wanted to be. A lot of my friends had not great relationships. And most of my friends were single, unhappily single, and real fucking grumpy about it and pretty toxic in some ways. Because I didn't want to be friends with somebody who challenged me that much about it. Next, find some relationship role models. Find people in real life or even in media that you can look up to, where you see a relationship filled with love and deep respect and appreciation, where you see both people showing up for each other. They exist. I'm in one. I know them. I have clients who are in them. But when we never see them, we don't know what they look like. We don't know how they feel. And man, isn't it so much easier to get where we're going if we have a visual of what it looks like in the end? Part of the reason that I continue to come here on this podcast is because I want to be living proof to all the things that you believe about love or dating or yourself or your body or your ADHD or your age or whatever it is, and prove you wrong. So you can let go of the bullshit that society has dropped on us or your parents or your childhood or whatever it is. And we can get out of our way for really good fucking love. That's what I'm doing here. That's why I'm here. That's what I believe. I'm going to be bringing something out, guys, in a few weeks. It's new. It's different than anything I've ever done. It's going to be for all women, whether you are singled or coupled or married or have been married for 40 years. Because it's about thriving. It's about actually being able to move through this world in a way where you don't feel like you're going to lose or fail or break every fucking day. It's going to be called Thrive. It's based deeply on positive psychology. It will be a 9-month container. That means that everybody does it at the exact same time. It will be open for 14 people. It will start with a retreat. It will end with a retreat. And it will be life-changing. I literally want people at the end to say, this was the best year of my life. This community, the skills I have learned, the mindsets I have changed. This is the best year of my life. Nothing changes if nothing changes. All right, guys, that's it for today. A little bit shorter and sweeter, but Mama's got shit to do. I'm trying to change the world. If you're not following this, please subscribe. It means the world. It means you'll know when I'm showing up trying to bring some great genius here for free. If you really loved it and you want to make my day better, please leave a review. It honestly makes a huge difference. It really, really does. And I read every single one of them and it keeps me going. I don't know about the future of dating right now. I don't see that many people intentional. I don't see that many people even caring about it. But I do know I'm going to keep coming here and talking about how we can learn how to be better people, better humans. So just life feels better. I don't think that life is easy. But I deal with it and respond to it. Not react, but respond to it so much better. I will be here next week. And until then, meet love halfway.